beautiful souls. I'm Brianna Janae, and I'm back with another video. Today, I want to talk about the mind / imagination in the way that I see it, my perspective. Now, I have to reiterate, because we live in this world, which is so annoying, but there are no factual studies or tests, things of whatever. People need proof of things. Those things have not been done. This is simply my mindset, simply where I view things and see things, and they just make sense to me. And so if you resonate with that, you resonate with that. If you don't, you don't. But if you would like to hear, keep on watching. So, the mind, the ego, very simple but complex in the way of how it allows you to experience life and your emotions and the ups and downs that you experience in your journey. And I can't say as we all know, but as I know, it's there to protect you in its own way of its own understanding, even if it's being detrimental or self-sabotaging, because it thinks that is the best way to protect you. Now, you can see this as, oh, that's a flaw, it's wrong, yada yada, but we were designed that way. It was for a reason. And it's what makes us human too. So for me, I appreciate it in its own way and accept it and have acceptance for it, because in its own way it loves me, and it's just doing it in its own way that it knows how to do it. So I have appreciation. I definitely get frustrated with it sometimes, but I do still have appreciation for it because it's trying to protect me. So, I have filmed this video before, but it didn't come out. The understanding didn't come out in the way that I wanted it to come out. And so I had to sit on it for a while longer before I got to talk about it again. But Spirit has really been like tugging on my heart, like, okay, it's time to talk about it. You have the concept. So we have to really be careful when we subscribe to the stories of our minds. The stories and delusions that our minds can create around situations and scenarios and people can be very dangerous. And it's done so easily and so unconsciously that sometimes you won't even realize that, like, yo, this is a story that I made up in my head, and it has nothing to do with the physical things that are in front of me that I have experienced in the moments or situations or events that I'm visualizing about and creating a story around. And so in my first part, shall I say, when I was first talking about it, I was warning people about following the delusions of their minds, following the stories of their mind, and being conscious of the stories that you're creating and what's actually happening in real life, like in real time. And how you really have to manage and organize the differences between the thoughts that are going on in your head and what you are creating versus what is really happening. it's kind of a scary thing, the fact that our mind can create a whole story that we can believe that has nothing to do with our reality and what's really happening, because we so heavily believe in what our mind is creating and not associating the separateness of it in our heads and being one with it and not observing it, that you immediately can fall victim to all of the things that it's creating. Now, yes, it's still you in a way, but it's also still like the human you. And then there's the spirit you. So that's the what is that word? That is the separation. And I don't want to say separation because all of you is all of you. But there's a difference between your spirit and your human. It's at two different vibrations and levels. At least that's my understanding of it as of now. So that was what my first video was kind of highlighting, is like, be careful, watch out, make sure that you're not acting out at people or making moves in your life based on the things that your mind is creating that aren't really happening. But then as I looked at it and I didn't communicate it properly the way I wanted it to, the way I wanted to, I began to receive more messages about it. And I was just like, wow. Thinking about the imagination. In my mind, or in my interpretation of life, it seems as though like imagination, people associate your imagination being like, that's only as a kid. Your imagination is just something that you deal with as a kid, and that's something that kids have, and once you grow up, it goes away. You don't have that anymore. But what I was seeing it as is that our imagination really doesn't go anywhere. Our imagination is still there. It has just been conditioned and contorted and like morphed into fitting in the reality that we live in, and fitting into your mindset and values and limitations and things that you view that have been encompassed in your mind. And so I started to think like, okay, so when our mind is creating all these stories and delusions and things that are happening in our mind but not really happening in the real world, like that makes me think like that's our imagination. Like, how can it not be? So my thing was like, our imagination has never left. Our imagination is still there, just in a new form, because we've grown, or we are defining ourselves as adult now. We are defining ourselves as we're no longer childlike or in the form of a child, so we have to grow up and be this adult. And so now our imagination reforms itself into serving us through our minds, which is still how our imagination works with a kid. So our imagination has always still been there. It's just tainted. It's just conditioned. It's just reworked in a new form. And so I feel like when our mind creates these stories, it is really, the source of it is our imagination. Our imagination coming up with these scenarios and ideas and things in our head to fuel our perception and what we are seeing and what we are experiencing. And I'm not saying this in a way to to punish or downgrade our imagination. It's just simply coming into the new form of shaping itself into how it fits into our reality, because it never really goes anywhere. It just reworks itself because your imagination's still always going to be there, and it's still always something you can tap into, and it's all it takes is you using it in the way that is best for you, that is best serving you. So are you going to allow it to still fuel the stories of the mind that aren't real, or are you going to work with it to bring it back to its true form, to when you were a child, where it fueled your creativity, where it fueled your thoughts to expand beyond your 3D reality in a way that's most beneficial to you, for you to experience bliss, for you to experience heaven on earth, for you to use it in a way that benefits you in your highest good, and not in a way that is coming against you and tormenting you because you have not worked with it or seen it in a different way or allowed it to reshape itself back into its original form, which was always serving you. Now, I feel like I sound a little woo-woo crazy saying this, but this is just how the workings of it has come into my mind and how I'm thinking about it and what Spirit has put on my heart about it. And so, now when you are now coming into awareness of that, your mind is creating a story. Awareness that your mind is creating a story, and you know it's not real. You know it's something that doesn't make sense, and it's not really what is happening. It's being created. It's coming up with its own whatever that it's doing. You can then, I feel like, fine tune and like push through the illusion and delusion of what it's creating and go down to the truest form and essence of what's really there, and rework and reshape the imagination to be what you really are wanting, or what you really are seeing in real life, or creating the reality in which really exists, which is therefore serving you and being of your highest good and benefit. Which I guess is it would be the tool of manifestation, in the way of when you are daydreaming or thinking about imagining your reality. That would be the form of using your imagination to create your reality that is serving you in your highest good. And so pretty much you can get to the point where you begin to constantly work with and rework your imagination to stop fueling the stories of your mind and delusions and creating alternate realities that could possibly exist, but would really probably never exist, and that are not serving you in your highest good in your current reality, and reshape it and fine tune it into using it in the way that its original form was used to create, to imagine the world that best serves you. Imagine the world that is there to create your bliss, to create the state of mind of heaven. in your current present reality. So that might have been a lot. um there's a story right now that's saying that, you didn't explain that well enough, or that's not going to be understood. But I know that I explained from my heart, and I didn't explain from my mind. I explained from my heart. So anyway, yeah. So now when you are experiencing the stories of your mind, you can first give yourself awareness that that is just a story, and then begin to process and fine tune your imagination, the source, which is your imagination, to reworking in your highest benefit. And then, therefore, not creating a story, but creating the reality in which you truly would like life to be for you. So, this is just a different out there perspective. Like I said before, no proof, no facts, no science this, science that, whatever. It's just a concept that I've had in my mind, and a concept that Spirit has been putting on my heart and giving me certain feedback about it. So let me know what you think about this perspective. Let me know if it makes sense. Let me know if it resonates, or maybe you don't. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe you have different knowledge about the concept. Definitely let me know. And subscribe if you want to hear more content. Feel like you can relate, resonate, like this video, and share with someone if you think it can help them change their perspective and see things differently. I would much appreciate that. So until next time, I'll see you. Thank you.